Outsourcing tends to have a bad reputation as being low quality. Partner Hero's value-based approach raises the bar for the outsourcing industry by investing in employee empowerment and career growth, paying above-market salaries, and maintaining a focus on quality and performance. They're more than a service provider. They're also a thought partner for the startups they serve. It's simple. Brands that care about quality customer experience choose Partner Hero. They offer flexible terms and the ability to scale quickly, perfect for startups, with quality assurance baked into every program and offices around the world. So Partner Hero can provide truly global coverage. Outsourcing has long been available mainly to big businesses, but Partner Hero is challenging business as usual by bringing the benefits of outsourcing to businesses of all sizes with short, flexible contracts and fast ramp-up times. 10 years ago, when we were launching the Action Catalyst, we could have used a few extra hands to help us scale quickly, even if it was just for a short while. You can bet that with their expertise, fast onboarding, and core focus on quality, Partner Hero would have had our attention. If you're ready to bring in outside customer support help for your startup that feels like it's a part of an existing team, check out Partner Hero. Head over to partnerhero.com/Action Catalyst to book a free consultation with our solutions team. Mention you heard about Partner Hero from the Action Catalyst, and they'll even waive the setup fee. Now, on to the show.
From Nashville, Tennessee, Southwestern Family of Companies welcomes you to the Action Catalyst. Each week, we share insights and inspiration from movers and shakers in the world of business. Our goal is to help you increase your self-discipline, overcome procrastination, and help you to take action on all the things that really matter.
This is an incredible real-life story. What you are about to hear is the story of a high school football coach whose team went 0-10, did not win a single game, and then the following year went 10-0. A powerful real-life story that's happening right here in Tennessee. Really exciting. We're talking about how to turn a team around and how they did it as a team with just humility and strength and overcoming the odds. Really, really powerful. And of course, at the end of the show, I'm going to highlight for you and share the six mental, the six beliefs that you have to turn a team around. This is what I learned from Coach Porter, who you're about to meet. And I'm going to sort of dissect and break apart what I learned from him and what I think you can learn from him to help you or somebody you know turn any team around. So I know you're going to love meeting Coach Porter. It's a fantastic story. And as always, we're so glad you're here. We'll get started just after this message.
This episode is sponsored by Southwestern Coaching. Southwestern Coaching has helped over 11,000 people increase their incomes by over 25% on average. As a successful salesperson, you know the importance of increasing your sales. But sometimes you might just need a little extra push and accountability to meet your goals and grow your business. Southwestern Coaching will help you increase your income through one-on-one sales and leadership coaching tailored specifically to your needs. Together, we will elevate sales. To schedule your free one-on-one business action planning session with a Southwestern coach, go to www.southwesternconsulting.com/Action Catalyst.
Coach Jeff Porter is the coach of White House High School football, and he has been for over 30 years. His record during that time, this is a couple years ago, was 252 wins to only 120 losses. He had 27 playoff appearances, 15 district titles, had 8 10-win seasons, and won a state championship in 1997. In 2016, he was inducted into the Tennessee Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Ironically, in the 2016 season, his team, for the first time ever in his history, did not win a game. They went 0-10, lost every regular season game. And then this year, in 2017, they had a complete turnaround. They went 10-8. 10-0. So they went from 0-10 to 10-0, and I wanted you to hear the story as we talk about how do you turn around a team. So, Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having us on.
So I want to pick up your story, Jeff, from being inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, you know, you got 30 years, this amazing track record, very consistent. Tell me a little bit about, you know, what did it feel like, you know, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame? Because it was, you know, that's to me where this story starts, is sort of like you reached the pinnacle, so to speak, of the Hall of Fame. So take me to that moment and how were you feeling then? And you know, take us back to that time.
Well, the induction into the Hall of Fame in 2016 was in December. We had just completed our football season the month before, and as you said, we had gone 0-10. Not only, you know, going 0-10, but we had been pretty much dominated during that football season because we were mercy ruled 4 of the 10 games. So it was you know, it was a very challenging time for a football program because, you know, we have been very blessed here to be successful, you know, for the past 30 years. So we knew going into 2016 that we were going to be a younger football team, but I don't think anybody ever thinks that you're going to go, you know, 0-10 and not win a game. But realistically, we were younger and we were facing a schedule that most of the teams on that schedule were very, very strong. So, you know, and realistically and looking back at it, there were probably only a couple of games that we really had realistic chances of coming out with a W. And a matter of fact, in both those games, we actually led, but we couldn't finish. So, you know, the year ended 0-10. And I think what we've had to look back on is we, you know, in retrospect, that year, you know, we had to find different ways to find victories. And what I mean by that is you have to find small victories. And it might just be, you know, getting a first down or stopping somebody or maybe going out and having a good practice that afternoon. Or, you know, so you just have to find ways. And even though the outcome may not be what you want at the end of the game, you know, you had to find different ways. And I can remember in some of those mercy rule games that we were just trying to get the points back under 35 where we could not have a running clock so we could get more offensive plays. So, you know, you just have to look for different ways. Mercy rule
what is that?
When the team gets up by 35 points in the second half and the clock runs continuous. So 4 times in 2016, you know, we were mercy ruled. The clock was running and we weren't getting to play as many plays and kids weren't being able to get as much experience. So that's how 2016 ended. And then a month later, I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, so you know, it's a very unusual turn of events.
Yeah, so you have this sort of career high at the Hall of Fame, but it's juxtaposed against the worst season that you'd ever had in 30 years.
You know, I found out about the induction in September, so I had known for 3 or 4 months that you know, that was going to take place in December. So you know, it's just one of those years. That's all you can say. You know, if you stay in this business long enough, or if you have your, you know, if you have your own business that you own, you're going to have highs and lows. And the highest of highs never equals the lowest of lows. And I just think that, you know, whenever you're going through a challenging time, you know, it's just an opportunity to show your character. And I think that's what our football program has done this following year.
So, you know, before we talk about this year, did you emotionally, did you feel like people might look at you funny? Like, you knew obviously you were going to be inducted to the Hall of Fame, and then you have, you know, unfortunately the worst season that you guys had in history. Did you have any sort of like personal feelings of like, oh my gosh, you know, did you have any of that, or did you not really worry about people thinking it's, you know, was, I don't know. I mean, it just any of those kind of personal feelings?
No personal feelings. You know, people ask us what happened this year. You know, we haven't done anything different this year than we did in 2016. We still practice the same way, and we still do the same things that we've done for 30 years here. And, you know, it's just, you know, 2016 was probably a stepping stone to the 2017 year. So I wasn't worried about the emotions of, you know, how we're going to be perceived. You know, I was more concerned and how we're going to respond. So, it's never about that one person. It's never about the head coach. And, it's all about everybody working and pulling together and, trying to do something positive. So, the honor was a tremendous honor, and, I accepted it on behalf of my school and my community because I've been blessed to be in one place for so many years. So, when something like that, when an induction happens, it's really just a reflection of the efforts of your school and your community, and then most importantly, your family, because your family sacrifices more than anybody else in the world. And, I have a wonderful wife and two blessed children, and, they're the ones, if anybody's got cheated on this journey, they're the ones that got cheated. And believe me, if I could do it different again, I would certainly do it different. But that's where we are today. So, we're just very thankful and very blessed to be at this point.
So tell me about the start of the 2017 season. So, you gotta, I'm trying to picture the locker room of the first game of 2017. Obviously, your team is acutely aware of the fact that they did not win a single game the previous season. Sure. What was your message to them mentally, knowing that they, there was some, pressure or spotlight on the fact they had not won any games the previous season, and now here we are about to start another season. What was your message to them?
Well, that first game was October the 18th, but in actuality, that season began January the 2nd, because that's when we started our off-season workout program. And, I just think our kids committed to doing everything that they mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually could do to get themselves in a position to have the best chance to be successful. And honestly, going into that game, there was no doubt over here that afternoon on August 18th in our locker room here before we went to the stadium. It was probably one of the most focused, quiet times that we'd ever seen among our kids. And before we took the field that night, our message was, we have a different message for every week, and the message that week was chosen and the meaning. So, what is, we just talked about what it means to be chosen. And there's so many principles that you can look at, whether in real life or in the Bible, that you can talk about, what's it mean to be chosen. So, obviously, we've been chosen to be in this situation right here and how we're going to respond. And our only goal going into the first game was simply one thing. We just wanted to win the first game. We weren't worried about the second, third. So our total focus was simply that first game. And after we won the first game, then our focus just changed to the second game. We were going to try to win the second game. So this team really did a good job of keeping everything in perspective of one game at a time.
I love that. I love the power of that concept of being chosen. So let's fast forward to the middle of 2017. Okay, so now I'm thinking, all right, so here we went from this 0-10 season, and then at some point you're 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. People have to start talking about, oh, what a comeback, what an amazing year, what a great story this would be if you were 10-0, and
right.
They have to start, in the back of their minds, that has to come up as like, wow, we have a chance here to go undefeated. So how did you manage, as the turnaround starts to happen, how did you manage that dynamic, and how did you what was your message to the team there as it starts to become obvious, like, hey, we are a very different football team. Obviously, we've made a lot of improvements. We've earned a lot of respect back, but we got a long way to go still.
Well, we won a big game on September the 15th. It was our first region game, and we were able to defeat Springfield 16-14. We kicked a field goal with about 4 minutes left to go to win the game. And obviously after that point, there was things, perspective of how people viewed us, I knew were going to change. But, the message that night was choosing to say, I can't wait. And we told the story about, life and how people have different things going on. We say it all the time. Everybody has stuff going on, but we told the story about a little girl and how when her father put her to bed that night, I missed all the things going on. Her message, what she told her dad that night was, she goes, when she got ready to go to sleep, she goes, I can't wait to wake up tomorrow morning. And if you think about those words, somebody going to sleep and they say, I can't wait to wake up. And we just talked about that night, what's it mean that you can't wait? We've had this opportunity to take the field, and we just can't wait to take it. And then we just look so forward to next week when we can't wait till we get to do this opportunity again. So we just try to use it as a perspective of going one game at a time, one practice at a time. And, as we were able to win some games, it's obvious that there was going to be more coverage coming to our football team. And to be quite honest with you, I tried to shield some of that from our kids right there because they had a good thing going, and I wanted to try to keep them focused on what they were trying to do and what they were trying to accomplish. And they did a good job of keeping everything in perspective and just truly taking it one game at a time.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because Suzanne told me the story. I think you guys were maybe 7-0 or 8-0. And I said, wow, this is a pretty cool story. And she said, well, happy to introduce you to Coach Porter. And I said, you know what? Let's just wait to the end of the season and see, because I wouldn't want to put any more pressure on anybody. And so what about the last night? So you're 9-0, and I love how you have a theme every single week, and this is really, really powerful, and that it's different. So it's not like you had a theme to the season. It's more like you have a theme every single night. Now, when you're 9-0, it's kind of like, that night in the locker room, no matter how much you're trying to deflect the focus and the perspective and keep people focused, it's got to be somewhat unignorable to the idea that, hey, we have a chance to make history here, and this could really happen. So what was that night like for them and for you?
Well, I think you have to backtrack to the previous week, because the previous week we had won a home game by the score of 30-10, and it was a game that we had actually struggled in. And when we came to the locker room after the game, when you walked in our locker room, you would have thought we had lost, because our kids were so quiet, they weren't saying a word. And I can just remember walking in with the coaches, and when we walked in, there wasn't a word said. And, my immediate thoughts were, they've got it. They understand it. And, it was the feeling that they had not performed to the level they expected of themselves. So, even though they had been successful in the final score that night, they weren't satisfied with their efforts. So my immediate thought, as we talked to the coaches, was, there's something special here. There's no doubt about it, because whenever you get a group of people and they're not satisfied with their performance and they know that they can do better, then you've got to grow. You've got a very mature football team, or you got a very mature business. It doesn't matter what you're doing. So that was that week. So that's what led into, that night is when we first heard of the opportunity that there had never been anybody go 0-10 and have the opportunity to and go 10-0. I had not heard that, and I think our principal brought it up after the game that night, and our kids heard it. They may have known it. I don't know, but I didn't know anything about it. So, the next week we are playing at Greenbrier in week 10, and it is for an opportunity to, we still had not won the region championship. It was against a team that had beat us very soundly the previous year, 40-14, and then on top of all that, we get over to play, and the forecast is 7 p.m., rain and cold. So all day long it doesn't rain any, and then sure enough, at 7 o'clock that night, the heavens opened up, and it was so bitterly cold. It's honestly one of the coldest football games that we've ever participated in, and our kids played so great. And it was just it was really humbling to see them watching as the final seconds, ticked off the clock. The message that night or for that game was just do what's right and trust. And I just really think that our kids have tried to do what was the right thing all year, and they trusted the process. And, fortunately, we were able to come out on top and win that game. And when I saw the emotion of the kids that night, it was just you could see the culmination of the previous year. And, you got to remember 2 years before that, we had been 4-6. So 4-6 and 0-10. And so it was a great opportunity to see our kids smile, and that was the one thing that we as coaches had tried to share with people going into this year, is that we just wanted to see our kids have a chance to smile again. And that's the most rewarding thing that's happened this year is that the kids in this football program and also the people in our community, they got the chance to smile again.
Wow. I mean, I cannot imagine what it must have been like that night after the locker room. Well, so let me turn the conversation now just a little bit. So the people that are out there listening, right? Most of the people listening to the show are not high school football coaches, although we do have a lot of coaches at the collegiate level who do listen to the show, different coaches for different things. But many of the people who listen run a church, or they run a business, or they manage a team inside a corporation, or they run a family. And I think anybody who is a leader for any length of time, as you mentioned earlier, there's gonna be a point where you run into roadblocks, where you run into challenges when the team starts to stumble. Maybe you start to question your confidence as a leader. You know, just drawing on some of the lessons that you learned this year, Coach. Like, what would you say? What advice would you give to somebody who's listening that maybe is leading a church, or is leading a team, or is leading a business or a family? And when they look at their team, they know that, hey, they're 4-6, or maybe they're 0-10, and they're in that moment where you were at the end of 2016, and they're looking at their team and having to, acknowledge the fact that they're losing. What advice would you give to that coach or that leader if they're in that moment right now?
You got to hang on, and you just got to really find out what you believe in. And when you find out and you know what you believe in, you stick to your values. And that's the most important thing that I would try to share on behalf of our coaching staff here. And, we're in this together. The number one thing that you've got to have, in whether you're trying to turn a business around, turn a football season around, or maybe a difficult situation going on in your life, you got to have loyalty. You got to have people that you can depend on. And that's the number one characteristic that we've always looked for, and whenever we try to put together, a business or a team or players or coaches or anybody, the number one attribute is loyalty. And the thing that we had going for us this year is, number one, we had the support of our administration. I knew that they believed in what we as coaches were trying to do with our players, and our players bought in. And I think that's a very key element. I said the game started on August 18th, but it really started January, 8 months before that. Our kids bought into the concepts and what we were trying to do, and those are the things that you got to hang on to. And, you work with a group of people, a coaching staff. A coaching staff probably spends more time together than they do with their actual family. So if you're in business, and you got to have people that are working side by side that have the same vision and the same concept, but also have the freedom to express themselves. And everybody's held accountable for, their actions. And I just think it's important that everybody has the opportunity to have their say. I had the opportunity to work with a coach 10, 15 years ago, and his favorite line was, he goes, I don't have to have my way, I just want my say. And when you allow everybody to have their say, and then you come together on a choice or a decision, and once you make that decision, you walk out of that room together, and you collectively, you believe in that decision, you support it, and you got a great chance for something to happen. So loyalty, believing in yourself, and believing in the concepts of what your program stands for, or your business, or your family. You hang on to what you believe in.
On that note, this is my last question for you, Coach, is, I've learned through just kind of learning about you in various ways that your faith actually is a pretty big part of this, and, just personally. And can you just share a little bit about that? I mean, obviously it's like, playing football is football, doing business is business. How much is your faith, like your personal faith, has mattered, like, over the course of this journey?
I love the Lord. I'm a Christian, and I love the Lord. He's been he's been so good to me, and he's blessed me so much in my life. And I'm just like everybody else. I'm a sinner saved by grace, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity to be in a community for as long as I have. A wonderful wife of 29 years. I have 2 healthy children, and I've had the pleasure of opportunity of working with some of the greatest men, coaching staffs here, and just, I'm just one of them. We're all just a group of guys working together. We have the greatest blessings and opportunities every day to see young men and help them to try to become good fathers and good husbands. And winning football games is nice, and, wins and losses are going to come and go, but when it's all said and done, nobody's ever going to remember the score or how many games you won. When our kids come back as alumni now, and we get to see them as husbands and fathers, contributors into the community, and those are where the real rewards are all about. So, we as coaches, we're very blessed. We're at a special school. We have tremendous administration that starts with our principal, Mr. Scott Langford, and it runs down through our entire student body and our community. And this is a very special place, and, I'm just thankful that everybody always talks about the destination point. It's never the destination point. It's always about the journey. And, this journey this year has been special. It's been enjoyable. And, unfortunately, journeys sometimes have to come to an end. That's part of life. So, 2017 has ended, and we're working on the journey for 2018 as we speak. And every day there will be good things that happen. There may be some challenges that come along the way, but anytime you come across a disruption or a challenge, that's just an opportunity to show your character. So the most important thing is how much these kids, we can help to grow to be better people. And, we're the lucky ones. We get to stay here with them year in and year out, and we're just thankful for the opportunity.
I've never been one to want to go tackle somebody, but I tell you, I felt inspired like I was in the locker room a couple times during that interview, and maybe I should go out and play football. Probably not going to happen. But what an amazing story. I mean, any undefeated season is an incredible story, but to go from not winning a game to winning every game in 1 year, like a 1 year turnaround like that is just incredible. And there's so many things I love about Coach Porter. I love just how humble he is, right? He just no matter what I asked him, it was like he would not take credit for anything. And just talking about the administration and the community and his coaches, and both before and after our interview, he was just convinced. He was trying to convince me that there wasn't really a story, that there wasn't really a story there to interview him on. It was just like, this is just what we do, and it's a great coaching staff, and it was the kids, and it was the parents, and it was the community, and it was the administration, and I was just like, well, just let me just ask you some questions. I basically had to like nudge him along to just kind of convince him that there were things that he had that I wanted to share, and he definitely believes that running a business is no different than running a football team, but he just refused to take credit for anything, and I love that. I love that about the guy. That's just a part of it, and a part of great leadership, and that inspires me. That I want to be better in that regard. I want to be more egoless, and I want to be more humble, and I think then you see these epic accomplishments of these great teams, it's usually because there's an egoless leader that is around, and there's a great example of that. And then also just getting a chance to hear his faith and hear that kind of come out was really cool. So I mean, you could check out again the name of the high school. It's a cool story. Is White House High School is the name of the school. And so what I wanted to do, I went back, I listened to the interview here and pulling out my big takeaways and turning it into an action plan for you, which those of you, by the way, if you're listening, if this happens to be your first time ever listening to the Action Catalyst podcast and you say, why does this guy interview, Navy SEALs and sales people and CEOs and authors and high school football coaches and NFL athletes and what is the theme of interviewing all these people? Well, the whole idea of this show, right, is to find ultra performers, to find examples of greatness happening in the world, and to learn from them. And I'm learning alongside of you, and to then translate it into an action plan. So I think I'm learning along with you, but then this last part of the show is sort of always one of my, I think what I'm trying to do is, even for myself, is just dissect what I've just experienced and to put it into an action plan for you to help you take action on it in your own life or in your own business or with your own team. And we try to give you ideas and tools to help you act on. And of course, our goal at Southwestern Consulting is that these ideas we're sharing for free will help you take action in a way that help you, grow your income, and that perhaps at some point you'll take a chance on reinvesting some of that growth into getting into coaching with our team. And that's what we do, is one-on-one sales coaching, sales leadership coaching. We also do online selling, or what you might call digital marketing. It's kind of a newer space that we are entering into, but we elevate sales. For us, the scoreboard is growing revenues. That's kind of what we do. We're not so focused on reducing expenses. There's other coaching things and consultants and trainers that talk about that. We are all about growing revenue for a business, and that comes from sales, marketing, leadership, strategy. And so we're trying to give as much as we can here for free, and hopefully you help take that, execute on it, and then consider reinvesting some of that back into us with getting your own coach or some of the other offerings we have. So this is how I'm going to take what I just learned from Coach Porter and put it into action in my life. And these are simple, but gosh, I thought they were so powerful. And so the first one, you really don't hear enough about. And if you're talking about how do you turn a team around, these are six ideas that I'm taking from Coach Porter about how do you turn around a team. And the first one is not a technical thing. In fact, all of these are not really technical things. They're all emotional things. And they're all belief things. They're all mental things. They're all mindset things. All of these things, right? Which is interesting. What you even heard him say is you heard him say, we didn't do anything differently technically. We ran practices the same way. And I thought that was fascinating in and of itself, which is not the first idea, but it comes into the first idea, is it wasn't like a technical change that made the difference. It's about mental changes. And where that starts, right? The mental journey of turning a team around starts with this phrase. And here's what he said. He said, I wasn't worried about how we were being perceived. Boom. That is where the journey starts. If you are failing, if you are losing, if you are struggling, the turnaround starts from coming to this place of saying, you know what? I am not going to expend energy being worried about how I am perceived. And man, I can just tell you personally that this is something that I've struggled with many times in my life, is I expend way too much energy being worried about how I'm perceived. And anytime you're spending energy doing that, that is time and energy that is taking away from what you could be using that time and energy for, which is just making the improvements, making the adjustments, reshifting, reallocating that time and energy into doing what needs to be done in order to change the course. And that is so powerful. And that is where I think that it started with him and for his team, is they were not worried about how they were being perceived. They simply got to work, that January after their losing season, went back to work. And that's just a massive mental shift. You cannot be worried about how you're being perceived. Number two, okay, so this is the second sort of mental checkpoint, I think, about how you turn a team around. And this was also so inspiring, is he said, we believed that we were chosen. We believed that we were chosen. And what's powerful about that is what he was saying is not like, oh, we're special. Oh, we deserve, there's something about us that we have that nobody else has. No, it was more about saying we're in a tough spot. We're in a tough situation. Our backs are up against the wall. Things have fallen apart. But we believe that that's not our destiny. We believe that is just a part of establishing our determination, that is just a part of discovering what our journey is, that is an opportunity to turn around. And I think this is where people really fail, right? Having a losing season, not winning, is not the same thing as failing. When failing happens is when you take a loss, when you take even a series of losses and you write that into your permanent future. That is what failure is when you take the loss and you project it and you make it permanent. What winners do, what ultra performers do, because it's not that they never lose, they do lose. Coach Porter is a great example of that, and his team and his coaching staff, that's a great example of that. What they don't do is they don't take that failure and they don't project it into the future and make it permanent. What they do is they take that failure and they shift it, they reshape it, they craft a perspective on it that says, wow, there must be some reason why we're going through this. And if you're a believer like I am, you go, yeah, God is going to take this and he's going to redeem it. He's going to turn this struggle into a strength. He's going to transform this pain into an opportunity. He's going to take this failure and he's going to rewrite it as a beautiful future. They believe that they are chosen, that in their failure, in their pain, in their struggle, that there is hope and that they have been chosen. And that is a huge mental checkpoint for how to turn around a team or how to turn around your own life. So incredibly powerful. And the third phase or the third step that I pulled out of that interview was when he was telling the story about the little girl who falls asleep at night. And she says, Dad, I can't wait to wake up tomorrow. I cannot wait to wake up tomorrow. I can't wait to get back to doing the work of accomplishing something meaningful. And that is a decision that you make, right? That is a choice that you say, I'm going to make the most out of my life. I'm going to use my life to do something great. I'm going to use my life to do something good. I'm going to choose to be a part of a team that is making a meaningful difference in the world. I cannot wait to get up and take my life and dedicate it 100%, throw it fully in the direction of doing something that is meaningful, of doing something that matters. That's not about having the perfect job. That's not about having the perfect boss. That's not having about the perfect team. That's a little girl that doesn't even have a job, and she is saying, but you know what? She understands that life is a gift, and it's her choice to do something great with it. And you have the same decision to take your life and to make it count every single day, and to do something with your time that matters, to make the most out of what you've been given, to treat each day as an opportunity. And no matter if you are in the midst of a 0-10 season or a 10-0 season, that is a choice that winners make. The fourth thing is, if you do these things, right, if you have these first three belief barriers, you don't worry about how you're perceived, you believe that you are chosen, that this struggle is going to be redeemed. If you choose to make the most out of the time you've been given and you're doing the work and you're paying the price, then what's going to happen is you're going to start to win. Right? It's going to start to turn around. And the risk is that when it starts to turn around, you risk becoming complacent. The risk is that you start feeling a little success and then you take your foot off the gas. The risk is that you don't end up living into that potential because you cut out too early. You quit. You give up before it's really finished. And the fourth thing that he said is, you have a special group when they're not satisfied with their level of performance. And I love that story where he talks about they won 30-10. They won 30-10. They were 9-0. They were on the cusp of one of the greatest comeback seasons in the history of all of sports. And in the history of all of sports, they were sitting there not satisfied. Because to them, the win wasn't in the score. The win wasn't in their record. Their win was in their work ethic. Their win was in how they performed. Their win was in their execution. It wasn't about the scoreboard. It was about, did they execute? Did they do the things they knew how to do? And you have to make the same decision. You and your team, you have to get to the same place. You have to get to that place to where you're not playing for the scoreboard. You don't give a crap about your record. It's not about your W's and your L's. It's about every single day, do you pay the price? Are you expending the discipline? Are you controlling what you can control? Are you putting in the work? Are you putting in the effort? Are you taking action? And are you doing the things that you know you can be doing? And that is the win. That is the journey. And that is why we talk about success is never owned, it's rented, and the rent is due every day, because that decision has to be made every single day. When you think about scoreboards, when you think about Hall of Fames, when you think about comeback seasons, when you think about winning seasons, those are all W's, but those are things that are finite. And the real path to glory is embracing success is never owned, success is only rented, and that rent is due every day. That is a price that I am proud and willing to pay every single day. And when you have a group of people who put their self-esteem in their work habits rather than their production, when you have a group of people who hold themselves accountable to their daily execution, not to their quarterly or their annual numbers, but to daily execution, when you have a team that is focused on taking care of business for the next 2 hours, and that's what they do over and over and over again, you have something special. Because when they lose, and they will have losses, when they have downs, and they will have downs, when they have challenges, and they will have challenges, they won't falter, they won't misstep, they won't be stopped, because they're not focused on that. They're just focused on executing the next play. And that is something very, very special, is not being satisfied with your level of performance because your self-esteem is focused on execution and work habits. Number 5, you do what's right and you trust. You do what's right and you trust. The key is just, if you execute, you trust that sooner or later this is going to work out for you. And that is an important message, because when you're 0-10, right? When the newspapers and whoever, people in the streets are talking smack about you, and nobody knows what's going on, but they're just jumping on the negative bandwagon, and you're being criticized. And some of you work in organizations where you have a leader or a colleague or a counterpart where they're criticizing you, where they don't want you to succeed. They're excited about the fact that your back is against the wall, and you've got pressure coming at you and people looking at you, and you go, you know what? I'm going to let go of all that. And what I'm going to focus on is doing what I know how to do. And I'm going to trust that if I do what I know how to do, somehow, some way it's going to work out. I am going to trust that if I execute and I do what's right, and I stay committed to my principles, and I stay committed to doing what I know how to do, that I believe that it's going to work out. And that is a decision you have to make. And then finally, the last thing I just want to leave you with, this is so powerful. He said, at the end of the day, no one remembers the score. That is so good. At the end of the day, no one remembers the score. One of the biggest myths that we talk about in the world is we say, you know what? No one ever remembers who came in second. Right? That's what we say. No one ever remembers who came in second. Well, let me ask you this. Can you name the last 5 best pictures of the year? Right? Just in the last 5 years, what were the 5 best pictures? Can you name every gold medal athlete that there was in the last Olympic Games? Can you name the last 10 Super Bowl champions or World Series champions? Can you tell me who were the last 5 Pulitzer Prize winners, or tell me all of the Nobel Peace Prize winners? You can't do that. And the truth is, it's not that nobody remembers who came in second, that nobody remembers who came in first. It's because it's not about the score, it's about character. It's not about the wins or the losses. It's about contribution. And if I were to ask you which teacher made the biggest impact in your life, I bet you could tell me. If I said, who was there in your lowest moment in life, I bet you could tell me. I bet that if I asked you, who were the people that believed in you when no one else did, I bet you could tell me. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the score. No one remembers the score. It's about your character. And so I hope you take those 6 things. You stop worrying about how you're perceived. You believe that anything you're going through is just you're chosen. It's part of your plan. If you wake up tomorrow and you can't wait to wake up because you're going to do the work and you don't accept anything less than your best execution and you do what's right and you trust and you remember that no one remembers the score, if you do those things, then you can turn any team around. And you can turn any life around. Well, that about wraps up the Action Catalyst podcast for this week. If you haven't yet, please log in to whatever your favorite medium is to listen to the show and both rate this podcast and leave a comment, as that helps new prospective listeners determine if the show's really a good fit for them.
If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and screenshot this episode to share with your friends on social media. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst, and subscribe to our video podcast on YouTube. Thanks for listening.